everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome to Meet Menaca to celebrate you. In the 42nd episode, we are going to be discussing successful career transition with Rohan Mehra. He is an entrepreneur with more than 15 years of experience, soft skills trainer, educator certified by Pearson Education. He is a voiceover dubbing artist, master of ceremonies for various award ceremonies, owner of two companies, Neve and Hindiji, one dealing with soft skills training and the other one in Hindi language training. Winner of the Event Manager of the Year Award by Education Times India, avid debater, Toastmaster, finalist at national level UK, avid cricketer buff, loves to play squash, member of TIE and Indo-American Association certified by Pearson Education. More than all this, for me, he's a friend. So I am honored and humbled to welcome Rohan Mehra on Meet Menaka show. A very warm
Thank,
welcome to you, Rohan.
thank you. Thank you so much, Menaca, for those kind words. I guess when you were saying this, I was just trying to, feel or assimilate that, okay, fine, it's being spoken about me. But yes, I completely agree with Menaca. I guess the first thing, of course, is yes, I feel comfortable and I feel honored to be speaking to a friend. And I guess that's what will make this session even more wonderful for me.
Sure. Thank you so much, Rohan. I know you are wearing many hats, and I personally know you as a trainer or an entrepreneur, and we were in the same Toastmasters club. That's how we first met
Correct.
and became a friend. So, why do you speak about career transition, and what is your journey, which is, make you passionate about this subject?
Okay, a good point to start with. Let me tell you, so I started, of course, if I put it across in my family's words, I'm a core Bandra boy. For those who understand the geography of Mumbai, India, right? Born and brought up in Bandra, studied in Bandra, did my post graduation in Bandra, started working in Bandra. So sometimes people felt I am going to, it's this person who's just going to be here, right? And that's about it. Everything for him is this. But to put it in short, I did my bachelor's in science, wanted to do engineering first, the typical Indian thought in terms of you're doing well, right? Science is the way to go ahead. And post that, went on to do my post graduation in marketing. But I am somebody who always loves to experiment, which somehow at that point of time was not liked by many people. So even during my graduation days, I wanted to do something. I went to a retail store and during my summer vacation started working as a sales representative, which technically for people coming from my kind of family background, be like, what are you exactly doing? But for me, that was an experience. For me, that was a learning. Once that happened, did my MBA. Along with my MBA, I started with a very small thing, which is tuitions. And again, at that point of time, when you have your friends and family growing in their careers and joining corporate world, and you want to do this, so again, for many people, that was like that came as a shocker. I was working with a very famous hotel chain. I was handling their corporate sales for a while, and then went on for a very short stint with a media company. So in terms of a media company, again, handling their advertising sales, because for me at that point, oh my God, media, marketing, that's the way to go ahead. And India, of course, was growing and especially at the pace that it was growing, I felt that's the way to go ahead. But hardly within some time, I felt, okay, is this exactly what I want to do? And you'll be surprised, I actually quit my job within a year. And it was like, a dream job entered, something that I wanted to do since so long, and all of that stuff. And people at home were paranoid. Are you sure what that's the right step that you're taking? What's wrong with you? I don't know what's going to happen to you, etc., etc., etc. I literally, I can tell you, at least 3 to 4 months, I was sitting at home doing nothing, absolutely nothing. And what in reality now I realize today I was doing a lot, because if I didn't have those 3 to 4 months, I don't think so I could have gone ahead. And then I thought, okay, fine. I feel I want to do something on my own. I feel I want to do something which I like. I started an event management company because I felt that, okay, there are people who are wanting the big fishes, but there are nobody's interested in the smaller ones. So why don't we actually start doing that? And along with that, I started doing what I really enjoyed the most: voiceovers, dubbing, comparing, hosting shows. I guess my confidence comes from that. How to handle the audience. I guess all of us in the committee know, right? At the background, there's so much happening. And it's my event management and comparing background, which actually makes me feel okay, I'm at home. So, went on to do a few video games, went on to do a few other activities, and it just kept expanding for me. I was somebody who, again, from my backgrounds, like family and friends, somebody who has his fingers in all 10, all 10 fingers are occupied. You're not concentrating on one thing. Then moved on, felt that, okay, everybody's concentrating on hard skills. There's a need to look on in terms of soft skills. So started approaching few colleges, universities, a few corporates, right? Because I felt that yes, the differentiator between people is supposed to be that. And if that's not there, I guess nothing's going to function. But all this, my own only purpose was that yes, I hope I'm able to balance this. I hope I'm able to grow. And you'll be surprised. I even went on, by the time I could get an audience, it wasn't easy. I can tell you that for sure. By the time I could get an audience, I even started teaching English. I was comfortable with the language, so I'm like, okay, chalo, let me do that as well. Only to then realize that, okay, fine, this is not a market, especially in a country like mine, India. English speaking is treated as a mass product, so it's like you bring out thousands of so-called English speakers every month, and trust me, the quality is nowhere. And you'll be surprised, from one of my students, I have to give credit to him, where I got this idea that there are so many expats coming to India. India is booming in that regard. There are so many people from the south of our country who are not comfortable with the language called as Hindi. At the same point of time, there are people who want to be budding film stars and God knows what all and what not. And I took one full day and I Google searched everything possible, but I couldn't find a Hindi training institute. And that was the idea. That was like, okay, this is it. Correct? There's nobody offering this, and it's such a basic thing. If I expect anybody to come here, even if they want to be here and be here for a short while, they need to be comfortable with the language. And something like namaste, right, left, the basic stuff, they don't need to be masters. They don't have to do a PhD in that. So started that, had tie-ups with various companies, with the government as well. Came to know that there is so much of a need. I thought that it's going to be a flop show, and then moved on to the UK for a short stint, wanting to work on my research. Felt that okay, fine. If I have to move the next ladder, then that's the way ahead. And during this entire period, I have continued doing what I love the most, and therefore, when you asked me for an introduction, I said I'm an educator. I mean, that's my passion. Whether it's colleges, whether it's universities, whether it's corporates, my, I just love it. I can get up in the middle of the night and start teaching somebody. So sorry, I'm a blabber master that way. So yeah, it's COVID has brought me back, and things have moved online. Luckily, have been online for a while. So yeah, so far so good. It's been steady, and hoping to now yet try new horizons and new areas. And yeah, that's what I am in long. Sorry.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. Like, and it's really interesting to see, isn't it? Sometimes we grow up in environments where we are told you're a doctor, engineer, accountant, solicitor, or you're a failure, literally. If we
Absolutely.
are so,
Absolutely.
but still, you have gone on and to done different things for different times in your life, and you have been successful in different things. I I think it's really important for young people, or even like people like us who are trying to change careers and explore different possibilities, opportunities, to keep faith and be hopeful, but also, have caution. We'll come to it that later. But I think the number one thing is to explore and experiment, and
Correct.
that's the only way you are going to see, isn't it?
Without a
one
doubt.
of one of my mentors would say there's only one way to find out. So, and I agree, which you have really made it your mantra to do. And the Hindi language, of course, I can totally relate to it. When I came to India, in 19, oh God, it does sound like a long, long time back, 31 years back. I only knew pani and, nothing else. And now I speak to my friends, my patients, everyone in Hindi. So thanks to those lessons in India, thanks to my friends in India who taught me the language. But it's really really important. And I think when you move from south, particularly certain states, to the north, they would understand that why it's important. So we spoke about people want to change careers. According to the statistics now, the average person will might change careers 5 to 7 times during their working life. Uh, and ever increasingly, the number of career choices, obviously, we are widening. And they are saying now that 30% of the workforce might even change jobs every year. So it could be a possibility. So as someone who has done this many times in your lifetime, what support and problems did you face?
Good question, Menaca. I guess these are two, everything has two sides. The coin, I mean, I hope when I was speaking about it, it not sound that, oh, it's just been a rosy ride, nor it's been, like something like it's been too difficult to ride as such. It's, of course, a balance of the two. But to put it across, I guess first to start with, let me look at the troubles or let me look at the issues. See, to be very frank, to put it across, it's not easy when the kind of societies that we come from, when you see everybody around you doing the traditional things and you wanting to break that jinx, you wanting not to follow the bandwagon. So, I mean, it's a very simple thing about get educated, join the corporate world or join the family business, and the cycle goes on. But to break that mold, to be open to the idea of not doing that and wanting to do something on your own, I guess that for me it was the number one trouble, or you would say number one risk or number one problem, if you may put it across. The second is again trying to understand from the kind of culture that we come from. It's been like pretty much been like arts, commerce, science. From there you go ahead and if in science then you do something like engineering or medical, and then the step ahead, and then it's like for example quoting one of my favorite movies, if though it's a Bollywood movie, if anybody's seen, called as Three Idiots,
Of
correct, where
course.
it's like from the time the child is born, so it's more like an engineer is born, or a doctor is born, that kind of a thing. So I guess that's something which of course is a major hurdle. And because we were born with that kind of mindset, we are born with that kind of a thought process, and it's difficult to break that jinx, it's difficult to break that mold. Number two is where what I would agree to your statement. I would say 80% want to change, but out of that 80%, only 8% change. The other 72% somehow are somewhere in that middle, right? Want to, do not want to, should I, how do I, is it the right thing? And that a lot of amount of time is spent in that phase, and by that time you feel okay, fine, it's no use any longer. People feel, oh, I've crossed that age, oh, this is not for men, oh, this is not for women, the gender factor, or not from somebody coming from this family background, or this is not something which is the today's word trending, this is not the in thing, that time it was a good thing. So these hurdles, I guess, are there. Looking at talking about the strengths or talking about the positives, I guess it's mainly I guess number one is your support, and that support could come in whatever way. I mean, I call criticism as support at times, so
Constructive
whether
criticism.
yeah, whether it's your family, whether it's your close friends, whether it's anybody who that okay, fine, you have something to fall back on, that kind of a thing. And second is your passion. I guess if you are passionate, it's all about then following that path, because most of the times, I guess I've heard this from my corporate friends many a times, where it's like, oh my god, again I have to go to office, oh, the Monday morning blues, correct? So the point out there is, if you are doing what you want to do, there is no Monday, there is no Sunday, right? I'm working 7 days a week, and if the week was 8 days, I would be love to work 8 days as well, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So that whole concept of Monday morning blues doesn't exist any longer.
I think, it was interesting what you said. It's like a lot of wannabe entrepreneurs or wannabe, people. We still stay in the dream world, isn't it? A lot of times, and of course, it's multifactorial, and it is like you said. Each person has different circumstances, responsibilities, commitments, and and the structures. So each to their own. But however, I think. Steve Jobs said, I think that's the thing I would go by. If you are about to die tomorrow, are you happy with the life you have led? Isn't it? If you can say yes, then of course, by all means, just keep going. But if you can't, then what are you going to do about it? Is the important question to ask, I guess. And I think it's something really important what you said, particularly in certain cultures. I think hope we will start to think about these things a bit more deeply, reflect, and see how we can support people around us, or support people in our families, in our schools, even children, neighbors, to explore more. And it's to teach them sky's the limit. You can actually become whoever you want to become. And I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Menaca, because I mean, at a point of time, it used to be things like, for example, okay, a guy, if he wants to, let's say, enter a field like being a beautician or a hairdresser, it's like considered a taboo, or if a lady would want to tomorrow become a driver or a hardcore, factory worker or an industry, moving in the industry, or even an entrepreneur, for that matter, it was considered like she cannot ever do it. And these kind of barricades were created, I would say, very notionally. And people, that glass ceiling started coming up in all our lives. And that's where I feel all the problems pretty much started. Number one. Number two, what you very rightly said, and I 200% agree with it, is that, your journey, my journey, let's say Kirubai's journey, or anybody's journey out here, we are not in the same boat. We all are in different boats. We all are in the same sea, but our boats are very different. So
Of
if,
course.
if, if suppose, you can get inspired by somebody, you can maybe learn from someone's journey, but if one wants to replicate that journey, which is the biggest problem today, like if I take Steve Jobs, and if I say I want to be the next Steve Jobs, sorry, not possible. There's one Steve Jobs, there's one Rohan Mehra, there's one Menaca, there's one, I mean, that's the kind of thing, because our situations are different, as you said, the positions we are in our lives are different, our backgrounds are different. So I can never say that this is the perfect path that you should go about. But if you have a destination that you want to reach, or if you want to do something, yes, there is a way. It's just that my way and your way could be different ways. But at the end of the day, we all want to reach that same end. But the important thing which I would want to say here, it's not impossible. Maybe it may be more difficult for somebody. It may be more easier for somebody. Like, to give you two, three simple examples, I'm asked this question very often by students when I teach, that which is the perfect career, sir? Like, should I become a doctor? Should we go into engineering? And right now it's like digital marketing, etc., etc. I just have one answer, which is my favorite answer. That if in a lane, I can guarantee you, you'll find like 100 barbers, 100 doctors, etc. Very common.
Mhm.
I mean, there's too much of competition all around us. There may be some who you have to literally take an appointment and you get an appointment for the next month, or like even longer. And there are some who are sitting and swatting flies. They have no customers. So should I say that medicine is a bad thing? Should I say that, let's say, being a barber is a bad thing? Or should I say that being a lawyer is a bad thing? No, correct? So at the end of the day, the ones who are succeeding are the ones who are doing it because they want to do it, rather than because the world is doing it, I want to do it. So, when people want to go, like right now, second example which comes in mind is COVID-19. So everybody would say, okay, fine. Right now it's great time to enter the pharma industry. Oh, I should start selling masks and sanitizers and etc. That's the in thing. How long? Correct. I mean, can you make a career out of it? Is that what is your long-term plan? Is that what, is your passion, or is that what you are wanting to do? Or is it just that because it's the in thing, let me jump. In thing is out, let me move out. So if that's how you're going to function, sorry, then transition is not something for you, right? Then you're just going with the thing. So what I would say is, even within our own fields, if we upgrade ourselves, I would call that as transition. Because if I'm an educator, if I get comfortable with teaching on Zoom, teaching on any other platform for that matter, using animations, using all that stuff, I'm transitioning. I'm transitioning with time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that, one has to go from becoming A to absolutely Z just because Z is trending.
Sure. I mean, this reminds me of something when, because I coach and train, and one of the girls I used to work with, she suddenly came and told me that she would want to travel the world. And so I do something called a value test. You could put it as a personality, but it's not really personality. And her main value was stability. And I'm thinking, this really doesn't seem to fit somehow, for me at least. So I was exploring and asking more questions, and we were doing more exercises. And then, of course, she came up with this theory that her friend is PR marketing, or so she's going to be traveling the world, laptop lifestyle, as they call it in the entrepreneurial world. So she wanted to do it. Exactly what you said. And I was like, okay, but for her, freedom might be her value. For you, stability is the value. And it's so, so important to understand you, isn't it? In emotional intelligence, you call it self awareness. Daniel Goleman would say it, 100 times. But, it's really, really important to understand that. So moving on from there, Rohan, a new survey conducted by Harris Poll by Fast Company found the majority, that was really surprising even for me. The majority of US citizens, which is 52% of workers, are considering a job change this year, particularly. So, and even up to 44% actually have plans in place to move jobs, according to Fast Company. It is quite a big company.
Right.
So, why do you think people want to transition in their careers? And is there anything particular happening? And of course, we know the world is changing as we know it. But
Right.
what do you think is becoming that trigger or the impetus for people to want to change careers now?
Sure. I guess I'll answer your question in two parts. If I go by the first part where you spoke about the one of your people whom you were coaching who wanted to travel the world as such, I feel that all of us come with varied personalities, and all of us come with varied kind of, you can say, backgrounds or situations, or you can say parts of life that we are living, you know. So, again, putting a question which I'm often asked in terms that should we first complete our education and then go on to careers, right? So my answer to that always is very simple, that are you comfortable with the idea that when you have got used to an idea of a monthly X sum coming into your account, hitting your account on the 30th of the month or the 31st of the month, are you comfortable from becoming that independent person to suddenly becoming the dependent person? If you're open to the idea, fair enough, get into work, complete your education maybe later. But if you're somebody who feels that no, once I have that independence, as you said, once I have that stability, I cannot stop that from coming, then better finish off one phase of life and then move into another phase of life. Like as you again rightly said, there are many people who look out who are like, I want to get into freelancing. I want to get into, let's say, for example, doing things on my own. I want to be an entrepreneur. But my idea is if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a freelancer, there could be a month where the income is zero, and there could be a month where the income is 10 figure. Are you comfortable with the idea? Are you open to this discrepancy? Are you open to this instability? I guess those answers have to come from the people. Once we have those answers, I guess they'll be in a much more clearer situation to chart their path ahead. Now,
Yeah.
answering the second question which you asked is that why are people today transitioning more, and especially in these difficult times? I guess there are 3 to 4 reasons. One is, a famous campaign, but want to use it in another way. It's the Me Too campaign, correct? But that was for a good purpose. Here, people are using it for another purpose. So, oh, I'm seeing that person went into that industry and earned so much. I want to enter that. Oh, that person invested in the equity markets, got so much. I want to enter that. So it's that, when there's that constant comparison, when there's constant competition, I guess that's one of the reasons why people are not the best of reasons, but it is a reason. Number two is the saturation levels. I mean, if I talk about a certain generation, they would say they joined a company and retired from the same company. But at this point of time, you can, the excitement levels or the concentration levels or, basically the likability levels for people have reduced considerably. Every now and then they want something different. Every now and then there needs to be some kind of a modification,
Yeah, they're
which of
saying
course.
our attention span is less than a goldfish right now.
And the third reason I feel, which is of course a very positive reason, is that as compared to our parents and grandparents' generation, the opportunities, the scope available today is much more. There is much more, there's a chance for people to do things which they want to, and try out new things which otherwise were not possible. Like to give you a very simple example is today there is a chance of you sampling something. So tomorrow, if I may want to, let's say, become a language trainer for that matter, I can take up a short course and do it in my free time to just get an idea what it is. I could take up a 1x, one basic assignment and understand, which wasn't possible earlier. So with technology, with the world becoming flatter, the scope, the opportunity has, of course, grown leaps and bounds. I mean, today, if I like science, and along with that, if I like psychology, I can merge them and study together. That wasn't possible earlier. And the last reason I feel, Menaca, of course, we all know what times we are going through at this point of time. And when you hear stories of people doing anything and everything for survival, where they feel that, because, maybe their jobs are becoming redundant or they cannot actually work in those fields because of the current COVID situation. That, I guess, is an unfortunate reason, but then that is also another reason which I feel people are moving to another career. These for
Sure.
me are the reasons what I feel.
Sure, thank you, and I think they are really valid. I mean, my dad became a doctor when he was in early 20s, and he's 85, and he's still practicing as a doctor part time. And but I must say he was more entrepreneurial for sure. I wouldn't say it has been always a successful entrepreneurship, but I remember him exploring and experimenting with having for fashion into fashion business, or into tailoring business or something like that. And I'm sure a lot of people around him thought he has lost it at that point. So no wonder I have those genes in me. And exactly to the point, and my mom was telling the other day, and which was really strange, she said almost similar age I started now exploring, something totally different to what I was doing for 25 years. And, so, I think it, it does pay off sometimes, but like exactly like you said, it's not easy. And I think that is the issue. People are thinking you will go into entrepreneurship or a business one day, and the next day they are going to be Tony Robbins, or or someone else who is is like overnight success. It doesn't happen. So I think, yeah. And also, what is success to you? Is it really £1 million in the bank? Is that successful? What you want to do, isn't it? It's that alignment. So, and you already touched, people, 48%, people think about it, but most of them don't do it. So why do you think they don't do it?
There are multiple reasons, Menaca. I guess it's a very valid question, I would say. Today, we live in a world of QSR, quick service restaurants, right? So we want that McDonald's burger in the matter of 3 minutes, 2 minutes. We want that food to be delivered within half an hour or 20 minutes, etc. And that's exactly the pace at which we want success. So, that for me is one of the major reasons why People, just take the step and then do not go it because they are expecting quick returns. But please understand, something that goes up very high will fall down as fast. Number two reason I feel, is because when people, let's say, like going to a Tony Robbins or,
Mhm.
anything for that matter, people are seeing the today. People have not seen their yesterday. People have not heard their yesterday. So, we are like, oh my God, Steve Jobs, correct? But he's the same guy who was removed from Apple as well,
Absolutely.
right? He was the same guy who even today is known as to be one of the most arrogant bosses, if you ask his peers. But my point is, what am I seeing? I'm seeing that end result. I'm not seeing the 20, 30 years of progress or movement that has gone by. I'm only seeing this, success. And what I'm also not seeing that if there are these 10 success stories, there are these 20 failures as well. I'm not seeing them because they are not there in the notice, right? Because they're not famous or they're not being brought to our notice for that matter, right? So I feel these are two reasons for sure. Another two reasons I feel today is because people, again, as I told earlier, are not wanting to do this because they want to do it, but they are wanting to do it for other reasons that they should not be doing it, like peer pressure, societal pressure, or money crunch, or maybe you feel that no, everybody's doing it. I don't want to miss the bus. Fear of missing out, FOMO, as they may say today, etc.
It
Right?
is FOMO.
If those are your motivations, then I don't see this moving further. And the last reason I feel why the one of the major roadblocks which people feel, it's all here. It's all psychological. So I'm too old, right? I've already done, too old to start something new. I mean, if I start at this age for that matter, something new, when will I actually bear the fruit of the same, right? Oh, I need to be born with money bags to be able to actually do it, right? I'm not born with money bags, so I cannot be doing it. Or, the one of the, I guess, what all of us crib, we don't have time, right? We have hundreds of duties to fulfill, maybe as part of the family, part of the social life, part of our careers, etc., here and there. So we always have reasons. So
True.
that it's here at the end of
Yeah.
the day. I would say one of the
Yeah.
major,
Thanks.
major, major reasons, if you ask.
Thank you. My NLP trainer would say, you find reasons or results. So, there you go. And I think about what you said, I think Simon Sinek puts it beautifully about this generation, who is coming up, isn't it? He says, because they're so used to this instant success, and particularly in the West, I don't, Asia, I guess it's slightly different even now. But, you get a certificate even if you don't become first. You're appreciated, and parents are telling everything is possible, and then suddenly they go into this workforce, or entrepreneurship or business world, and nobody gives you a certificate for not doing well. you know and it doesn't become successful, and nobody is telling you're great when you're not. So, well, I think suddenly because they feel disillusioned very quickly and
Yes,
disheartened, and
yes,
then they just think they want to move from one uh, job to the other, without really waiting and analyzing and seeing actually, because it comes with efforts, a lot of hard work and
yes,
persistence and perseverance, isn't it?
absolutely. I feel, Menaca, adding on to what you're saying, the generation lives in a bubble. We're quite used to this word bubble now with the
Yeah.
COVID-19 scenario, but they live in a very different bubble. And when this bubble bursts, that's end of the day for them. That's end of the road for them. Then it's like
True.
you're down and out. You are, it's impacted your motivation. It's impacted you. It's impacted everything. And that's the reason then we see that people at such a young age taking extreme steps and doing things because they
True.
feel that they are already a failure. Whereas, frankly, they've not even faced 10% in life yet. I mean, life has many more chapters to showcase to them. But even just at that juncture, they feel my bubble has burst. So this is what I expected. This is what was my image,
Mhm.
my perception. We live in a very perceptive world, and because it did not meet my perception or my expectations, it's a failure. It's not something that I can do. The second thing I feel is, as you rightly mentioned, what's the definition of success? Who would define that? I would say I can define it differently. You can define it differently. Somebody else can define it differently. because what it may be to me may not be to somebody else. So somebody may say that only if I earn $1 million, I'm successful. Somebody else might say, if I have 1,000 followers, I'm successful. So the whole, I would say, criteria, the whole measurement methodology is just changing by the day. And that's again a problem area, what I feel in terms of interpretation of success for people. And the last thing in this regard, what I would want to say is that people do not know themselves. It's like I remember talking to you the other day about the same, but we all come with different personalities,
Of course.
right? We are not the same, right? We are absolutely different individuals. And whenever I have spoken about personality development, right, I've always looked at it that a personality is made up of three elements. One, what I think I am, correct? That's always, it could be, you could be very critical to yourself or you could be very easy on yourself. Number two is what others think I am. And number three, and the most dangerous one, what I want others to think I am. When
it's
people put up a front.
it's such a powerful thing. And I think we were having a chat the other day, and a couple of years I came through this quote. Is it Charles Cooley, isn't it? Some of you might have heard it.
Yes.
I am not what you think I am. I am not what I am I think I am. I am what I think you think I am. It's like really powerful.
It is, because we want to put up that front, we want to put up that personality because we feel that is required for that job or that is required for that thing. So you try to be somebody else. You don't try to understand yourself. You don't try to be yourself. And I guess that's, you're moving towards the wrong direction for sure.
Sure. Thank you, Rohan. Like, I think it's so powerful. It's power packed with whatever you're saying. You know, we know that some people think and, have cold feet and they don't do it. But if people really want to do that career transition, what steps should individuals take in order to successfully make that transition?
Sure. I guess to begin with, I would divide this in three parts. That's what I feel is the best way to go ahead. Pre, during, and post. I feel there are three stages to transition. So pre is, I guess, the entire pre-battle has to be fought here. Are you mentally prepared for the transition? Are you open to the idea of a lull? Are you open to the idea of giving yourself time to reach back at maybe the level that you were earlier? Right? Are you prepared to not give up with the hurdles coming up? Are you open to the idea of new adventures and things coming in your way which you wouldn't have dreamt of? So that first battle for me has to be 1 year. The second parameter there for me comes, and perhaps it's such an old tool which we all have used multiple number of times in our life, and that's a SWOT.
Yeah.
Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. As simple as that. Because all of us have our strengths, something that we are good at, something that us, that we can actually work towards our advantage. We all have weaknesses. Like, nobody's perfect. Right? We all have a set of issues. We all have a set of weaknesses. Based on our strengths, we of course have multiple opportunities that we can tap on. And based on our weaknesses, right, we of course should be open to many threats coming our way. So if we do a SWOT of ourselves, and if we feel we are not the best judge ourselves, maybe a family member as well, maybe a colleague as well, maybe a friend as well, I'm sure if there are 3 to 4 SWOTs, we'll be able to find some commonality somewhere. Because as I said earlier, we may behave differently in front of our colleagues, maybe differently in front of our family, maybe differently with friends. Example, we could be more vulnerable at home, but more grit and determined at office.
Yeah.
So each person may bring in a different, you can say, viewpoint about my personality to me. So once I do my SWOT, right, and I get to know what are my strengths, my weaknesses, I will then be able to chart that right transition path. Chart that path that, okay, fine, this is where I should be going. This is where what is right for me. That's my pre. When I'm coming to actual transition, again, I'm using a very simple management concept. You have a goal to achieve, right? That's what we are aiming for, right? A very old thing which I've been learning from years together is smart goals. Most,
Oh, so true.
it's very good theoretically. Unfortunately, it is applied pathetically in life. What I mean by smart goals is specific. You need to be specific, right? This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve, or this is where I want to go. Correct? Measurable. How you actually going to be like, okay, fine, yes, I've progressed a little, right? Achievable, right? If tomorrow I may say that, yes, I want to suddenly do
Mm.
something absolutely erotic, correct? I'm not too sure whether that, it's a good idea. Relevant. We have to be with the times, right? We have to be, as of today, we have to be what makes relevance to me, you, the world as such. And the most important thing, which is time bound. You have to set like 1 year, 6 months, something. You have to give yourself a good and yet not too long, too short kind of a period. I feel if your goals are smart, if you have, actually decided that, okay, fine, and practically smart, I guess your path would be much more comfortable. You would
Sure.
actually be walking in the right direction. Because, again, another factor which I keep hearing and I can apply to myself as well, always short of time. Right? We never have time. Let's agree to it. We never have time. I guess what they say is that um, we may have gold, we may have money, we may have everything on life, but people don't have time. But I believe in two philosophies there. One, you have the maximum time when you're most busy. When you're free, you don't have time. I can guarantee you, personal experience. Okay. Second major point for me is it's about how you actually work your way around it. So something like, for example, if someone feels, no, with my family, with my children, with everything for that matter, I really don't have that kind of time, correct? You can actually use alternate strategies. You could use something like, I would say, a personal example for me would be when I used to travel a lot in Mumbai. And for those who understand the geography of Mumbai and the traffic of Mumbai, you can understand reaching from destination source A to destination B could be an easy 45 minutes to an hour. And at that point of time, I used to feel that 1 hour is non-productive. So started maybe listening to podcasts during that period of time, started making all my important calls. Sometimes it literally used to be that by the time I'm driving my way from work to home, I've already finished all my administrative stuff in that 1 hour, which otherwise I felt mentally earlier used to feel that it's not productive. So the whole idea is what works for you, correct? But you have to tweak. There is no perfect solution. There is no perfect strategy. And coming to the last part, which is post. Even after all of this, there is a 50 and more percentage chance of failure. I'm being blunt, right? And there is, so if I'm saying, no, I did my pre-pop proper, I did my execution properly, now that has to guarantee me success. No, correct? But then sometimes there's also that saying which says third time lucky. So I'm not even saying second time lucky. So what I'm trying to say is that in terms of post, correct, it could be pretty much that you're starting a pre-cycle again as well. Because the unfortunate part is people do a brilliant job in pre, people do a brilliant job in execution. It's the post which is the worst part. Because by then you're like done. No, we've done our job. We've reached here. Now's the time to gain the benefit. Now's the time to reap the benefits for that matter. But it doesn't happen always. Because the whole what happens, the whole energy around it is now gone for many people. To give you a simple example, let's say if we are having a party, everyone's super excited before it, right? All preparations, everything. During the party, we all are enjoying, but after the party, washing the utensils, throwing away the stuff, clearing all. Trust me, if there were 50 supporting you initially, there'll be hardly two helping you in the end. Because the excitement or the motivation to it is gone. And that's the problem with post.
Sure. I think it's very powerful with what you say, and and I think also ask the right questions to the right people, isn't it? When you said, because when and also start things for the right reasons. When I, obviously during COVID, when I was working with other charities and doing things, and the idea for the talk show actually was born. Um, During a coaching session, as I've said many times. And But one of the very first people I called was Rohan, because I know he's the right person for that particular thing. So I called Rohan because he was stuck in India, and I called him and said, Rohan, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think? He said, it's a great idea. Let's do it. So I think it's also about knowing, isn't it? It's I often say this is the tools in the toolkit. You need to pick the right tool for the right job
Right.
because otherwise it's an issue. So you need to know who to go to, and do they have the right experiences, right knowledge, and the right skills to support you. Some people might say yes, it's a great idea, but if they can't support, it's good to have those people to cheer you up, but you still need more people who are going to get their hands dirty and be there
Absolutely.
for you.
I more than agree with you, Menaca, because first and foremost, let's agree to it that no mission or no war has ever been fought alone.
Yeah,
So if anybody feels that yes, yeah, I'm not saying that yeah, you could be the lead, but you need people in the background. The second point, adding on to you, is of course what you were speaking about, networking.
mhm.
Connecting with people,
Yeah.
and networking is a highly abused tool, unfortunately, right? So where people network with a purpose, right? So it's like when in need, you will
Transactional, you mean? Yeah.
yes, transaction, absolutely, right? When in need, that person is the most important person. When not in need, then who you, right? Do I even know you, kind of a thing, correct? And that somehow is not networking. And sometimes people might even say that, okay, fine, I do not know how to network. Of course, there are ways and means that you could, but there isn't again a perfect path, right? But you need that right people, as you correctly said, at the right time, at the right place. And even those names to strike your mind. Those names will only strike your mind because you had that kind of an interaction with those people. Sometimes they say, the perhaps the best way to judge a person is that how many school or college friends is he or she yet in touch with. Because,
Absolutely.
if you live for the moment, then for that matter, that means you have forgotten the people who played some role in your journey till now. I'm not saying thick and thin, but of course, it's every person has played some role for you to reach at that point, or for you to reach at that destination.
Sure.
So, because for me, I guess always the best learning is in our childhood. And therefore, whenever even I train or I teach, I use a lot of childhood examples, for the simple reason being there are so many small incidents in life which are such big learnings at that point of time. And we don't realize.
Mm.
Correct? I mean, just a simple example could be, tell me, we were not born with friends, right? We couldn't choose our family, but we've chosen our friends. When we went down, we took that decision that we are going to play with these building children and not play with these guys. And something we had no option. We were networking. When we went to school for the first time, we didn't know anybody. But then by the time we passed out of the school, we finished our education, right? We knew many people. So whether we agree or not disagree, we've networked, but we've networked for the right reasons. And as I always say, and I said earlier as well, each one comes with their own skill set. Each one comes with their own ideology. As I may say, man Fridays or women Fridays, if I may say, you need to know the right people. So it's like, for example, I know that if tomorrow I'm bored and I really want to catch up on the web series, I know whom to call, because I know he or she is an encyclopedia on web series. But I will not call him or her up for restaurants. I know I have to call somebody else. Or if I have a 2 a.m. friend, lovely to chat at 2 a.m. But if I want to party, maybe I'll go with somebody else. Doesn't mean that I'm not good friends or I'm not happy with that person. But we need these people. We need these touch points, right? We actually need the right person at that right place, because each one brings something to your life. Each one comes with their own set of experiences. And when you actually do that, you know that yes, my problem will be solved. Like one last example which I could think of is during exams, going back to school again, we never had enough time to study. Come on, all of us. Even today, when we have to do something, we never have enough time. How many of you all, inclusive of me, have that just 1 hour before the exam, call up that friend of yours and tell, okay, fine, just explain these two, three important things to me, right, so that I'll pass or I'll do something. But what that person did for you in that 5 minutes was equivalent to your 5 hours of studying. Because what that person did was cut off the crap and told you the core. That's your man Fridays, that's your woman Fridays, and you need to have the right people in the right position. Yeah, that's
Absolutely. Yeah.
networking to me.
Yeah. Coming from a woman, I would say, like, who do you go to shopping with? Who do you go with coming with? Who do you want to cry with? I think that's how we would express who you want to go for coffee with, you know?
Absolutely,
So that's a,
absolutely.
and it's really, really important. And I remember, actually, Rohan, you were the one who gave me the cup on that day when I spoke about this particular subject on a toaster master. It's on YouTube. If you want later on, I will share it next time. Might be I was talking about counting numbers. Are you counting numbers or collecting? I collecting numbers of, because it's really, networking has become this game of numbers. We shouldn't be.
I mean, adding on to what you're saying, Menaca, I mean, initially I was skeptical when I was offered the presidentship of the Toastmasters Club, like being absolutely new, will I be able to handle it, or is this my cup of tea, etc. And then I realized that what I learned in that 1 year as a president, oh, humongous. So, I mean, nothing goes a waste. You never know what can actually help you where. I mean, I was surprised where I guess you would agree to me, but I don't want to again name as such. But where
Yeah,
one of our members of the club actually came back and shared that in one of the trainings they had actually used my name as an example.
of course.
So that means within the matter, I mean, I was super happy with myself that in a matter of 1 year or even less than that, because I mean, almost the last 3 months, I pretty much handled it from India. So in
Mhm.
the period of 9 months, I was able to make that kind of an impact that I'm being used in somebody's training as an example. So you really never know what can actually come of help or where you end up learning, what might grow your journey, anything for that matter. I mean, I feel
Yeah.
I give full credit to my for my confidence only and only to my stage activities, comparing,
Mm.
hosting, elocutions, debates, something which as a child you did just because out of fun or out of
Mm.
enjoyment. But today you realize the fruits that we are bearing because of that.
Sure. I mean, and you are a very good, you're the perfect, you had a perfect cocktail of uh, qualities for a leadership role, because I know you, I still sometimes wonder, how did you manage to convince me it's okay even to become a shadow VP, like, VP of education? I was only there for a couple of months by that time. And, so, I think it's just about knowing yourself, knowing other people, empathizing with other people, isn't it? And being able to bring the best out of yourself and other people, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely,
According to the pundits, now the hybrid work is here to stay after post COVID.
absolutely,
So
absolutely,
they are saying remote work and work from home options are valued by 68% of the currently employed workers. And whether which was surprising in a way, but not so surprising as a woman, is 43% of women, they wanted this. This was the one of the main criterias when they are going to look for a job, but only 33% of men wanted it. So what do you think has changed in the world and society over the years? I mean,
I feel
particularly post COVID, I guess.
yes, yes, yeah. I guess particularly post-COVID, few things have changed dramatically. Some of the things which were considered taboo are no longer considered taboo. So work from home in the corporate world, I guess many of our people who are from the corporate world will agree, was considered as a sin. Was considered that, oh, work from home means he or she is shying away from work,
Not productive.
not productive. And in 2020 and 21, we are saying, right, that even there are companies which are saying that even the sales force is going to work from home, which earlier we never used to feel that's even practically possible. How can you sell sitting at home? I know of people in India who are buying a car sitting online. And car is something that you do a lot of research on, right? You just don't, it's not a pen or a pencil or a food stuff that you just buy off the record. Second major change is that people, as you rightly said, have understood the importance or the practicality of remote working. Best example we have right here is this platform. I don't think so. We could have even thought of this platform if COVID was not there,
Of
to be
course.
very frank,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
And I'm sitting here in India, you're sitting there in UK. There are people from US, Canada. I mean, hats off to Raj sometime, the kind of time he manages, with
He
the
wakes up at
schedule.
5 o'clock sometimes
With
to come to our committee meetings.
Absolutely. So what I'm trying to say is that we are all from different parts, and here we are talking on a platform. discussing things. Maybe pre-COVID, we would have thought like, oh, I'm here, 4.5 hour difference, 12-hour difference, not possible, right? We cannot function. We always, but post-COVID, I guess there itself, it is there. And if I take things like, especially if I talk from Indian point of view as such on a large scale, and which holds true for UK and US as well, and other parts of the world as well, is try and understand there were areas which were branded for things. Like, for example, I would say like London. If you're not in London, you're missing out. Correct? I mean, it's a thought. It's a thought
Of
process.
course, yeah.
I would say here in India, I would say if you want to be in IT, you should be in a Bangalore, a Chennai, a Pune, other places you're missing out. You want to be in the industry, Mumbai. You want to be in something else. That there were these things. But today, it's possible for me to sit here in Mumbai and yet do work of a company which is based in Canada and do it successfully. Today, it's possible for me to sit in a small part of UK, some county somewhere, correct, and actually do the coding for an African company. And it's absolutely agreeable, absolutely acceptable, which wasn't the case earlier. So remote working, so no longer it's your location doesn't determine your career any longer. Earlier, it used to be like, I want to be this, but there isn't much scope in my city. And then I don't want to migrate because of multiple reasons. Today, that whole issue or that whole block has been removed, because at the end of the day, as long as you have a good Wi-Fi connection and you have a laptop or a PC on you, or even a mobile phone today, I guess you are good to go.
Sure.
And the last reason or major thing which I feel that things have changed post COVID in terms of career is that people have become much more open minded. I mean, you've broken the shackles a little bit. You've broken the cliches a little bit in terms of that. You're open to doing different things, which otherwise you were quite rigid that no, not my area. This should only be done by this. Initially, it was because you didn't have an option, or company did not have an option, or those people didn't have an option. But over a period of time, I guess it's the part and parcel. As you said, even after COVID, we are going to live in a hybrid world to a large extent, right? Education. People used to wonder, how can you have exams online? How can you conduct lectures online, right? Companies, how can meetings happen online? I mean, it's practically people will just, run away from work or do things here and there. But today, that's the reality.
Healthcare
That's the
consultations,
reality.
healthcare apps have come. Healthcare consultation is happening virtually. So,
Everything. There are things which are being done virtual which you couldn't have dreamt of, right? Yoga classes to other trainings to God knows what all and what not, where you can't even, in the wildest of imaginations, expect that, oh, what are you doing? I'm on an online Zumba class or an online music lesson or God knows. And where's my trainer from? Some other part of the world.
of course. Uh, I 100% agree with you, Rohan, because Swati, some of you who know, who's part of it, that's how I met Swati, because I was speaking in the UAE, in Dubai, in another platform. And that's how I first met Swati. And then she came to one of my coaching programs. And then she moved on to being a part of the members in the Meet Menaca. So, globe is truly shrinking and opportunities are becoming. I think we are breaking our own shackles, but
Yes.
also the barriers are also breaking, isn't it? So I think it's externally and internally there's change. Because due to the restriction of time, I'm going to just ask you to give 3 takeaways quickly so that we can wrap it up on time.
Yeah, it's difficult to summarize this in 3, but yeah, I'll still try my level best to do that. Number one, what I would say is that if you want to transition for the right reasons, right? Transition that for me is the biggest factor. Maybe because of passion or maybe because of any other reason, but the right reasons. Number two is you have to get rid of the fear of failure, because perhaps that's your biggest deterrent in transition. Because there is no right time, there is no right moment, there is no right person, there's nothing like that. Like if you have to do it, you have to do it in terms of transition in your career. And number three is you have to define your success. You have to define your end result. Because at the end of the day, every individual is different. Every person is different. Every person's life and story is different. So replication is not possible. You, me, others, everybody can, motivate, inspire each other. But at the end of the day, we need to walk our own path, and we don't know what's going to come our way. So be prepared for the unknown, and be the judge of your own success.
Thank you so much, Rohan. Obviously, I know how much you can talk and what kind of value you bring. So that's the reason you're on the platform. But, I have learned a thing or two for sure. And I'm sure a lot of people have, very valuable takeaways. So thank you. So before I pass it on to Kiribai, I am going to announce the next week's speaker. So our 43rd episode, that would be realigning business and career with Hiru Chotia. She has the FCMI FIC MBA, and so she would come and tell her story, but I know her quite well, and she was almost forced into the situation of realigning her career and business. So actually, we are in unprecedented times. Nobody will disagree. But individuals and businesses have to now sort of navigate through, rethink, and move across. Hiru Chotia has 20 years recognized business strategist and mentor, entrepreneur, and international business consultant to companies in 4 continents, and an executive coach to clients in 3 continents. She understands the global business landscape and advises companies how to succeed, and has also coached numerous business owners to build multiple 6 and 7 figure business. Her savvy business expertise has led Hero to become a regular contributor in the media and press. She has authored articles in international trade and consumer publications, and has been featured on CBS News, NBC News, Fox News, NASDAQ, Accenture, and CB Foundation for Women and Equalities Commissioning, among others. So I cannot wait to welcome Hiru Chotia to come and speak about this, because realigning one's career and business can happen anytime, either voluntarily or involuntarily. So it's another thing which is close to my heart. Thank you again, Rohan. Over to you, Kiribai, to give the vote of thanks.
Well, indeed, it is a privilege and honor. We like to first thank our viewers on Facebook. Thank you once again for joining Meet Menaca, Celebrating You. And we also like to thank our viewers and participants on this platform, faithfully coming to join us on Meet Menaca. We would also like to celebrate you and your faithfulness. And last but not least, Rohan, well, today I got to know you a little better. And that was a great sharing, a great time of listening to your journey and how you have transitioned. Rohan, for those who do not know, he is part of Meet Menaca Committee, and he was one of those founder members, and he's still with us. And we like to thank you for that, for invaluable participation and contribution. And you know something, as I always do, I follow you and coined up something. I never knew that, these words were just so, it resonated in my heart. R, of course, for reliable. O, for being very optimistic. H, for always being happy and smiling. A, for being authentic. And N, for being noble. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you once again. Bless you.
Thank you so much, Kiribai. Rohan, I know you are a poet, and I cannot let you off the hook without saying a poet. So if you have to tell a poet about this talk show, what would that be? Because you're part of it.
I'll just, rather than a poem, I guess, there's one of my favorite quotes, and I'll just quote that maybe. Let's just,
Sure.
In that regard. So I remember reading this quote, which put in Shakespeare quite well. So I felt that, I always use these 2 quotes in most of my content. One is that life is not Midsummer Night's Dream, nor is it Tempest. Life is a comedy of errors to be lived as you like it. So I guess Shakespeare and his books teach us a lot, and what better way to represent. And I guess that's what this particular show, or whatever our journey has been, has pretty much taught me. I do have another favorite quote of mine, but then that is more in Hindi, so I'll keep that aside.
Thank you so much, Rohan. Thank you so much for people who are watching us on Facebook. Please stay back for people who are on the Zoom platform. For people who are in Facebook, it has come to that time of the day to say goodbye. Until next week, same time, same place, we hear Hiru Shotia speaking about realigning one's career and business. Until then, stay safe, be happy, and keep smiling.